Hey guys, Philosophios here. This video is going to be a tutorial on how to stutter step. I'm going to go through a few different techniques used, and then I'm going to get to the way that I do it. Stutter stepping in general is basically it's just a micro technique that's used to move while maintaining attacks. It's going to help you reposition and scout while maintaining damage. It's also useful to help you dodge incoming attacks, mortars and frozens and things like that while maintaining your attacks. So the idea with stepping at the most simple level is you just alternate between left click and shift left click, back and forth, to move and then fire, move and then fire, move, fire, back and forth. Now there are a few different techniques used to go about doing this process. One thing to mention first, I think, is in your options. A lot of people already are familiar with this, but some people are not. So basically your left click is responsible for your movement, your primary skill, and your interaction. So by left clicking, you're doing all three of these things. So sometimes when you're trying to stutter step, if there's something to interact with, rather than stepping to where you want, you will end up interacting. So, and you can see here on the flag, like it messes up my stepping whenever I interact with the flag. So the first thing you're going to want to do is bind your movement to your keyboard. I have it on V. You can put this wherever you want. It doesn't really matter. It's just important that you have some key that will move and not do other things like interact and things like that. So once you have that set up, you will be able to step through interaction. Like you won't interact. You'll be able to step without interacting, right? And that's pretty important whenever you're surrounded by monsters. It really helps a lot to not stop an attack and to kind of force yourself to move with the key. So that's going to be important to get comfortable moving and then shift left clicking, moving and then shift left clicking. So you're not actually clicking the left click to move, you're clicking the keyboard to move and then shift left click, keyboard to move, shift left click. And another thing you can do to increase the effectiveness of your stepping is to rebind the shift key as well. Depending on how you play and where your key bindings are and things like that, the shift key is kind of out of the way. So you can rebind that to make it more comfortable along with your movement. You want the shift and the movement, you want these two keys to be very easy to hit because you're going to have to go back and forth between hitting them over and over again, continue like a lot while you're playing. And while you're practicing this technique, some things to keep in mind are you do not actually need to put your mouse all the way out here. Like most people, whenever you're getting to the high attack speeds and you're trying to step very, very quickly, you're going to want to keep your steps very focused. So you see whenever I'm doing this, my mouse stays very close to my character the whole time. I don't move my mouse much further than maybe an inch or two in each direction. And so if I'm trying to shoot at, let's say the waypoint is the monster, I'm trying to shoot at him, and you can either step in a line backwards or to the side. You just click out here whichever direction you want to move, and then over time you'll get more and more comfortable doing this. And there's also another technique, depending on your spec, you can actually rearrange your abilities. So this is how I normally have mine set up. But you can switch this around a little bit. And depending on your keyboard and mouse setup, this could make a difference. I mean, for me, with a gaming mouse and keyboard, makes very little difference where exactly I put my abilities. But, you know, depending on your setup, this could help. So, and for this one here, all you really do on this is you alternate between left click and right click, at least at the most simple level. So you just go back and forth. This is probably one of the easier techniques, but it's also less effective because of the interaction situation. So what I would do if I were looking into this situation is I would still use the movement key on the keyboard, and I would alternate between the keyboard movement and right click. Keyboard movement, right click. So it would be like this. And this way you don't have to worry about pressing down shift. The only real problem with this technique is, as I said initially, depending on your spec or your build, you won't actually be able to do this. Certain abilities you can't put here. So it just depends, you know, on what your skill setup is. Usually this is not a bad route if you're a beginner trying to learn. This could be a good way to break the ice in stepping. So those are the traditional stepping techniques. There's also another one most people refer to as side stepping, and for this one you can just hold down the movement and then also hold down the shift key and just press the left click whenever you want to attack. So you just hold down movement and shift the whole time, and then you just left click whenever you want to attack. My technique, it's fundamentally the same as the other techniques. I just use a gaming keyboard with a cast sequence macro to press shift and left click with the one button. So what I'm doing is I'm alternating between the movement key that's bound to the keyboard and the shift left click key that's also bound to the keyboard. So I'm just alternating between the two buttons on the keyboard, and that allows me to maintain very high step rates for very long amounts of time. I can definitely step at the same speed without the cast sequence macro, but probably not for hours upon hours of playing. So this technique helps a ton for extended gameplay sessions. And I mean, as you can see, the steps are very focused. You don't have to target the monster, so you're just alternating between moving backwards or moving to the side and shooting in the direction of the monster. You don't actually have to move your cursor all the way to the monster, just in that direction. So again, you can see the steps are very focused, and that's going to increase the speed that you can step at. And I mean, after a certain amount of practice, you'll become comfortable depending on your attack speed. There's kind of a rhythm that you'll get into, and over time you'll get comfortable. So I mean, that's pretty much it. You know, all you can really do is just practice and, you know, keep doing it. You can start with slower weapons and then move up to faster weapons. That's it. Thanks for watching.